My name is Paul Foster, and I'm a coffee roaster here in Ottawa, or Vars, Ontario. I am 38 years old. I have a wife and 2 boys, 5 and 3. I've been married going on 10 years next year. I was one of 5 kids, so for us there's never an abundance of money, but there's always financial security. My parents always were very proactive on savings. They always worked on making sure that they didn't just rely on their pension. They wanted to make sure that they had investments and backups in case there's shortfalls. My family was always very forthcoming about the money. We talked about it. Myself, I've always been, as a child, very young age, I always was obsessed with making money. My neighbors, I used to go around my streets when I was as young as 3 years old and I'd sell pine cones to my neighbors. My mom was mortified, and then so she'd take me back to say, no, you can't sell just pine cones to your neighbors. You gotta actually do something with them. And most people just saw the gumption and the ingenuity just being so significant. They just let me keep it. They just thought it was the cutest thing in the world. So I worked in the banking industry for 9 years. I'd been very strategic about how I did the job. My job was a job. My business is passionate. I like it. When I started working for the bank, is neat. You had to pay your bills. I wanted to save money. I needed benefits. I needed all the usual things that you need to live with. And then, but at the same time, the full focus was to develop a business. There was no dissuading me of which way I was going. I was going to do my business. I just had to do it responsibly. When I started the business, it was more just a hobby. I could find that I could roast coffee on popcorn poppers and get these green beans and really fun coffees from all over the world within days. And I'd be able to cook it, bring it to work, and drink it with my buddies. Coffee is a great social product. There's never people that come up and buy coffee from you where they're unhappy or dissatisfied. I met my wife and we'd meet in coffee shops and have these little encounters, which were really just the building of a really helpful and nice relationship. I'd plotted out using just the demand for my product and the amount of time I was spending to deliver it, roast it, and produce it. I'd go out and deliver the coffee before I go to work, and then I'd go from work to back home to roast more coffee, and then wake up and do the same thing again. Grain Pro bags. So the premise is that with the Grain Pro, it prevents beans from getting contaminated from outside sources. Working in the credit card side of things is able to identify how people use their credit cards. You'll hear people saying, oh, well, my credit card's affordable, it's at 11.99 interest rate, or I got a really good intro offer at 6% or 7%, but then you'll see the payments in relation to the debt, it just was totally inadequate. People don't realize that they're not just borrowing a week in advance, they're borrowing 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. People are borrowing almost at this point generationally. So they're relying on inheritance to effectively pay off some of these debts. The average household had about 4 credit cards. And when things are good, they're all modestly managed. So they're still living on them, but they'd capitalize about maybe 20% of each of the credit cards. And in their mind, they're making payments on each of them, and they're all being managed. What tends to happen though is around the holidays, special events, whatever your faith being, there's always consumerism where you're going to be buying more to celebrate the event. And so what would happen is you'd see the people leveraging all the credit cards or all the lines of credit available to them in hopes that, oh, well, don't worry, I'll be able to get on top of that. My experience with that is that people start dealing with it when it's too late. People will get to the point where they're at 105% of their borrowing capacity, they're over limit, they're overextended, and they're just in such a negative position that eventually they buckle and they try to get help. When I finished school, I had a crazy amount of debt. The goal for me was get out in front of the debt, get more financially independent, and then start saving. When you're in school, you're convinced that you're gonna get a good job, you're gonna be able to make a good living, and you'll be able to get on top of it really quickly. And it's no big deal, because in relation to what you will make, you'll be able to get out from under it really, really simply. When you realize that it's not that simple, when you realize that the social economical situation that you're in changes, that becomes a real big, oh my God. Debt has to be paid off as aggressively as humanly possible. When I'm talking about debt, it's harmful debt, like student loans. It's done its purpose. It's got you educated. Its purpose is done. It's got to be paid off quickly. It means that you can move on to your next stage of life, which is savings. Debt doesn't go away. It's something where you can't just handle it. You have to actually live with it, and you have to figure out how to get on top of it. Bad debt, in my mind, is debt anything exceeds your ability to pay it in a reasonable amount of time. When you're out of debt and you're able to start savings and strategizing for doing that, it means that, hey, I'm not going to buy that car right away. I'm on that bus for another year, and I'll save that money for the car, and I can buy the vehicle that I want. If I have to ride the bus a little longer, then maybe by the time I go to buy that car, it might not be the same car you originally wanted to, because you knew how hard you worked to save for it. That's where the second phase would be the savings aspect. It forces you to look at your priorities, and it gets you in that position where you have opportunity and choice. Thirdly, I'd tell people to look at their life of borrowing as entire spectrum, from early as you can to when you forecast yourself being able to retire. As an employee, it's what will I need to do to be able to maintain the quality of life that I have now and be able to take that into my golden years. My name is Paul Foster. This was my money break.